We welcome all bilingual poets, multilingual poets to our events, and over the years there have been many bilingual readers as featured readers or within our open section. For the last 12 years we have held an annual bilingual event in October. So this is the 13th bilingual poetry event conducted by Melbourne Poets Union. We welcome everyone here today to celebrate CAVAFY. We especially extend a warm welcome to the President of the Greek Australian Cultural League, Marietta Elliott-Kleerkoper, and the founder of the Hellenic Writers Association, Marietta working with the Melbourne Poets Union to support the event through funding of the filming of this event today. Now, the first part of today's event has been arranged by Dorothy Poulopoulos, and I want to thank Dorothy for all the work she's put in to
Good afternoon everyone, and welcome to Celebrating CAVAFY. Today we are celebrating 150 candles since the birth of the pioneering poet Constantine Cavafy. Cavafy was born on April the 29th, 1863 in Alexandria, Egypt, and died on his birthday on the 29th of April, 1933. He died of cancer of the pharynx, and in the last 2 years of life, he was rendered unable to speak. 80 years after the death of Cavafy, one may ask, why Cavafy? The way I see it, Cavafy is one of us. By that I mean that Cavafy moved around and created a new form of artistic expression. All of the poets appearing in Section 1 today have had first-hand experience of migration, and they are all pioneers in their own right. Our presenters in the first section include the founders of the Greek Australian Cultural League, Kyriakos and Tina Manatidis, the Hellenic Writers Association, Kyriakos, poets at Watsonia, Wendy, Fleming, Papier Mâché, Fashion Magazine, Chris Ringrose, Chris, I don't know if I did justice to the pronunciation. Okay, sounds French to me. Yeah. And the initiator of this event, Marietta Elliott-Kleerkoper. Marietta began this event, as mentioned earlier, 13 years ago. This is the 13th event, as a way of including all Australian voices, not just the Anglo-Saxon. And it was her idea to start this event and hold it every last Sunday of October of each year. It was initially held elsewhere. It was at the Melbourne Trades Hall, but now it has moved here. Okay, getting back to Cavafy. Cavafy migrated several times and was not afraid to express the transitions he experienced in life in his poetry. For instance, he spoke about displacement and loss, although the loss he speaks of is not confined to place and time. The youngest of 9 children, Cavafy lost most of his closest family members in the space of 3 years and was the only surviving member of his family for many years. Cavafy also wrote about the monotony of contemporary life, which he experienced as a civil servant for more than 30 years for the Ministry of Irrigation, and in the process Cavafy pioneered his own poetic form. Cavafy did not make much use of the conventional poetic devices of his time, like rhyme and embellishment, or what is more commonly called flowery language. He used a distilled form of artistic expression, concise and accurate, and wrote in a blend of language forms. He often combined everyday spoken Greek, the demotic, with elements of a more formal kind of Greek called katharedusa, and the everyday idiomatic expressions of Greeks in Alexandria and Constantinople, today's Istanbul. And then there's more. His language use is also said to be influenced by his studies in English and French. Cavafy also made a lot of spelling mistakes in his poems, and as a result, his poetry was not well received by poets in literary circles when it first appeared in mainland Greece in 1983. Oh no, not 1983, 1903, introduced by Xenopoulos. These spelling mistakes remain in place in all their glory, even in today's publications. It was only in 1935, 2 years after Cavafy's death, after the publication of his first anthology, that Cavafy became recognised in Greece. In English, it was John Mavrocordato who did the first English translation in 1949, followed by Ray Delvin in 1959. That's 20 to 30 years after the death of Cavafy, and fairly recent, I would say. So it comes as no surprise to me when English-speaking poets say that they have not heard of this poet before. So again, 80 years after the death of Constantine Cavafy, one may ask, why Cavafy and why now? In a year like 2013, which marks the 150th year since the birth of Constantine Petru Cavafy, and many poetry recitals of his work have been organised in a number of languages throughout the world, some of the personal comments made include, Cavafy's poems provided me with what religion sometimes does for others. That is, an emotional holding in the liminal space I find myself in. Another comment is, despite being faced with heavy burdens, Cavafy neither surrendered to alienation nor retreated to a life of nihilism. Instead, he directed his focus to thought, to a life of human creation and meaningful existence. Ian Forster, the author of Room with a View, met Cavafy in Alexandria during the First World War and had said of him that he was also an acute observer of human folly. This Greek gentleman in a straw hat, standing absolutely motionless at a slight angle to the universe, is a kind of solution. W.H. Auden counted Cavafy among the main influences on his writing, and Cavafy himself counted William Shakespeare as one of his own main influences and favourite writers. Personally, if anyone were to ask me why Cavafy, I would say that I grew up with Cavafy, metaphorically speaking. Kyriakos Amanatidis, who will speak next, introduced me to Cavafy through the VC curriculum of modern Greek when I was 14 years of age, through the compulsory and core study of the poems Ithaca and The City. We were examined on our study of these, both in written form and speaking, and my examination or study of these poems provided a model for myself and thousands of other students in the 80s of modern Greek of how one may navigate life. Personally, I enjoy the direct conversational style of Cavafy's poetry. The voice makes some of his poems that we'll be presenting his poems here at the Immigration Museum, have all supplied a short biography for the purposes of this event. I actually rummaged around the internet to see whether Cavafy had written any biographical notes about himself, and I was lucky that I did actually find one on Poem Hunter of all places, something short and something that he wrote in English about himself. So this is Cavafy's short biography, to be added right at the top of ours. Okay. I am from Constantinople by descent, but was born in Alexandria at a house on Seraph Street. I left very young and spent much of my childhood in England. Subsequently, I visited this country as an adult, but for a short period of time. I have also lived in France. During my adolescence, I lived over 2 years in Constantinople. It has been many years since I last visited Greece. My last employment was as a clerk at a government office under the Ministry of Public Works of Egypt. I know English, French, and a little bit of Italian. Cavafy himself did not want to be called an Alexandrian poet or a Greek poet. He would correct people and say simply, "I am a poet, that is all." Later on...
This is the poem Walls. With no consideration, no pity, no shame, they have built walls around me, thick and high. And now I sit here feeling hopeless. I can't think of anything else. This fate gnaws my mind, because I had so much to do outside. When they were building the walls, how could I not have noticed? But I never heard the builders, not a sound. Imperceptibly, they have closed me off from the outside world.
Now the same poem, Tiki, in Greek. Χωρίς περίσκεψη, χωρίς λύπη, χωρίς θέλω, μεγάλα και υψηλά τριγύρω μου έκτισαν τύχη και κάθομαι και απελπίζομαι τώρα εδώ. Άλλο δεν σκέφτομαι, το νου μου τρώει αυτή η τύχη, διότι πράγματα πολλά έξω να κάνω ήχον. Όταν έκτιζαν τα τείχη, πώς να μην προσέξω, αλλά δεν άκουσα ποτέ κρότων κτιστών ή ήχων, ανεπαισθήτως με έκλεισαν από τον κόσμο έξω. Now, what I propose to do next is to comment on two poems, one of which is the one you have heard, and his other poem, The City. I have chosen these two poems because I feel that there is a connection, because there is a connection between the two. As an introduction, I would like to point out that broadly, Cavafy's poems fall into three main categories: philosophical, historical, and hedonistic or sensual. Some commentators have suggested that the poems that fall into the first two categories, namely the philosophical and the historical, over and above their expression of the poet's feelings and beliefs, are essentially didactical. The title Walks of the first of the two poems I have chosen to comment on requires some explanation for the translation of the Greek title Tiki with the English word walls. In the Greek language, the word wall has two completely different connotations expressed by two different words. The first is to tichos, neuter, gender, and the second, or tichos, masculine in gender. The first word, to tichos, means a fortification for the defense of a city, and in the case of ancient Greece, the city-state. The second word, or tichos, the wall, means an ordinary wall that forms the structure of the house. Cavafy uses the plural of the first of the two above-mentioned words, tishi, implying that he felt entrapped within the fortifications of the city-state, not the walls of his own house. The contextual difference in the use of either word as the title of the poem is significant in that tishi, that is the title of the one poem, implies that Cavafy had been entrapped in his own town, in other words, Alexandria, and not in his own house. The difference is significant if we construe the poem "the city," in Greek polis, as the sequel, the continuation of the poem "Walls," tishi. In the poem "Walls," Cavafy bemoans the fact that, with no consideration, no pity, no shame, they have built walls around me, thick and high. Those are the two first verses of the poem by the same title. In these two verses, Cavafy is very explicit as to how he had been isolated by the outside world. He says, "I have built walls around me thick and high." So the walls or fortifications had been built by others. In other words, his isolation had been brought about by others, not by Cavafy himself. However, in the last two verses of the same poem, he seems to attribute his isolation, even if indirectly, to himself and not to others, by writing, "But I never heard the builders, not a sound. Imperceptibly they have closed me off from the outside world." This to me sounds like an oblique admission that perhaps it was his own eroticism that brought about his isolation in the conservative society of Alexandria in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The poem "Walls" was written in 1896 and published in 1897. Complexity and subtlety, the two crucial aspects of the poetry of Cavafy, are evident in this poem. The rhymes, which in Greek are homophonous but different in meaning, give the poem a musical tone and reinforce the allegories, a major aspect of the poetry of Cavafy. The second poem, "The City," I chose to comment on, is a sequel of the poem "Walls," although it was written more than 10 years later. Let us hear the poem, first in English by Wendy Fleming, and then in Greek by Dina Amanatidis before I...
That's better. Can everyone hear? Yeah. The city. You said, "I'll go to another country, go to another shore, find any city better than this one. Whatever I try to do is fated to turn out wrong, and my heart lies buried as though it was something dead. How long can I let my mind moulder in this place? Wherever I turn, wherever I happen to look, I see the black ruins of my life here, where I've spent so many years, wasted them, destroyed them totally. You won't find a new country. You won't find another shore. This city will always pursue you. You will walk the same streets, grow old in the same neighbourhoods, will turn grey in the same houses. You will always end up in this city. Don't hope for things elsewhere. There is no ship for you. There is no road. As you've wasted your life here in this small corner, you've destroyed it everywhere else in the world.
Οι πόλεις, είπες θα πάω σ' άλλη γη, θα πάω εγώ σ' άλλη θάλασσα. Μια πόλη σ' άλλη θα βρεθεί καλύτερα από αυτή. Κάθε προσπάθειά μου μια καταδίκη είναι γραφτή, είναι η καρδιά μου σαν νεκρός θα μένει. Ο νους μου πως πότε μες στο μαρασμό αυτό θα μένει. Όπου το μάτι μου γυρίσω, όπου κι αν δω, ερείπια μαύρα της ζωής μου βλέπω εδώ, που τόσα χρόνια πέρασα και ρήμαξα και χάλασα. Καινούριους τόπους δεν θα βρεις, δεν θα βρεις άλλες θάλασσες, η πόλη θα σ' ακολουθεί, στους δρόμους θα γυρνάς τους ίδιους και στις γειτονιές τις ίδιες θα γερνάς και μες στα ίδια σπίτια αυτά θα σπρίζεις. Πάντα στην πόλη αυτή θα φτάνεις, για αλλού μην ελπίζεις. Δεν έχει πλοίο για σε, δεν έχει οδό, έτσι που τη ζωή σου ρήμαξες εδώ, στην κόχη τούτη τη μικρή, σ' όλη τη γη τη χάλασες.
You will have noticed that the city is written in the second person. In the first stanza, the narrator, who is the poet himself, describes his desire to seek a new life in a new city, as his original city is a constant reminder of his failed life and the ruins that surround him. Then, the same voice, in a different tone, warns that the poet that was simply changing in town and not his own life, is bound to realize that it will be as if his own town will follow him. In other words, the change that you so strongly desire will not come about by changing cities if you continue to indulge in your own old weaknesses. No poem by Cavafy is as simple and at the same time as complicated as the city. The city that the poem cannot escape from is his albatross, his heritage, his sexuality, the cross that he was destined to carry in all his life. In line 4, in the Greek version, the last word thameni, which is a participle of the verb thavo, to bury, corresponds phonetically with the two last words of the following verse, thameni, which is the continuous future tense of the verb I stay, will remain, thus reinforcing the previous line Thameni, buried. The same sound simply reinforces what he wants to say, that his love will remain buried. In the city, a type of didactic monologue, we have the poet advised himself that he should not look for a better life elsewhere, because the city will always pursue him until he grows old in the same streets and the same neighborhoods, given that he is not prepared to change his way of life. The two poems, Walls and the City, suggest a sense of confinement, ostensibly imposed from the outside, but essentially because of our own choices and the impossibility of changing in one's life if it is to be achieved by simply changing the external circumstances and not through a fundamental re-evaluation of our own beliefs and conduct. In his poems, War and the City, Cavafy expresses his dire predicament and at the same time becomes his own harshest critic. Thank you.
And in this section we are using the translation by Keeley and Irshad, and in the next section when we have Cavafy in other languages, I will be reading from another translation of Daniel Mendelssohn. So it will be interesting to compare. I won't be talking about the comparison, but just sort of maybe try and remember this for when I read the other one later on. Ithaca. As you set out for Ithaca, hope the voyage is a long one, full of adventure, full of discovery. Laestrygonians and Cyclops, angry Poseidon, don't be afraid of them. You will never find things like that on your way, as long as you keep your thoughts raised high, as long as a rare excitement stirs your spirit and your body. Laestrygonians and Cyclops, wild Poseidon, you won't encounter them unless you bring them along inside your soul, unless your soul sets them up in front of you. Hope the voyage is a long one. May there be many a summer morning when, with what pleasure, what joy, you come into harbours seen for the first time. May you stop Phoenician trading stations to buy fine things, mother of pearl and coral, amber and ebony, sensual perfume of every kind, as many sensual perfumes as you can, and may you visit many Egyptian cities to gather stores of knowledge from their scholars. Keep Ithaca always in your mind. Arriving there is what you are destined for, but do not hurry the journey at all. Better if it lasts for years, so you are old by the time you reach the island. Wealthy with all you have gained on the way, not expecting Ithaca to make you rich. Ithaca gave you the marvellous journey. Without her, you would not have set out. She has nothing left to give you now. And if you find her poor, Ithaca won't have fooled you. Wise as you will have become, so full of experience, you will have understood by then what these Ithacas mean.
Mind me saying that she's 80 years old. Since 1985 to this day, and continuing very strong, she has been holding Greek literature and cultural classes at the Northgate Library every Friday. I often attend, especially if I'm in the area and I'm not picking up kids, and this has become a very special literary cafe and society for me. We normally wouldn't have access to Greek language and culture.
Thank you very much.
And companionship.
Ηθάκη, σαν γη στο πηγέμο για την Ηθάκη, να εύχεσαι να είναι μακρύς ο δρόμος, γεμάτος περιπέτειες, γεμάτος γνώσεις, τους λεστριγόνες και τους κύκλοπας, τον θυμωμένο Ποσειδώνα μη φοβάσαι. Τέτοια στον δρόμο σου ποτέ σου δεν θα βρεις, αν μένει η σκέψη σου υψηλή, αν εκλεκτή συγκίνηση στο πνεύμα και το σώμα σου αγγίζει. Τους λεστριγόνες και τους κύκλοπας, τον άγριο Ποσειδώνα, δεν θα συναντήσεις αν δεν τους κουβανείς μες στην ψυχή σου, αν η ψυχή σου δεν τους στείνει εμπρός σου. Να εύχεσαι να είναι μακρύς ο δρόμος. Πολλά τα καλοκαιρινά πρωινά να είναι που με τη ευχαρίστηση, με τη χαρά θα μπαίνεις σε λιμένες πρωτοεδωμένους, να σταματήσεις σε εμπορία φοινικά και τις καλές πραμάτιες να αποκτήσεις, σε ντέφια και κοράλια και χλιμπάρια και βένους και ειδονικά αρωματικά κάθε λογής, όσο μπορείς πιο άφθονα ειδονικά μελωδικά. Σε πόλεις Αιγυπτιακές πολλές να πας, να μάθεις και να μάθεις από τους σπουδασμένους. Πάντα στο νου σου να έχεις την Ιδάκη. Το φτάσιμο εκεί είναι ο προορισμός σου, αλλά μη βιάζεις το ταξίδι σου διόλου. Καλύτερα χρόνια πολλά να διαρκέσει και γέρος πια να αλλάξει το νησί, πλούσιος με όσα κέρδισε στον δρόμο, μην προσδοκώντας πλούτη να σε δώσει η Ιδάκη. Η Ιδάκη σε έδωσε το ωραίο ταξίδι. Χωρίς αυτήν δεν θα έβγαινε στον δρόμο, αλλά δεν έχει να σε δώσει πια. Και αν πτωχική τη βρεις η Ιδάκη, δεν σε γέλασε. Έτσι σοφός που έγινες με τόση πείρα, ήδη θα το κατάλαβες οι Ιδάκες τι σημαίνουν.
When suddenly at midnight you hear an invisible procession going by with exquisite music, voices, don't mourn your luck that's failing now, your work gone wrong, your plans all proving deceptive. Don't mourn them uselessly. As one long prepared and graced with courage, say goodbye to her, the Alexandria that is leaving. Above all, don't fool yourself. Don't say it was a dream, that your ears deceived you. Don't degrade yourself with empty hopes like these. As one long prepared and graced with courage, as is right for you who proved worthy of this kind of city, go firmly to the window and listen with deep emotion, but not with the whining pleas of a coward. Listen, your final delectation, to the voices, to the exquisite music of that strange procession, and say goodbye to her, to the Alexandria you are losing.
I got the opportunity to say thank you, a big thank you to the Melbourne Poets Union. It's the third time, I participate in this Immigration Museum. It's really essential, to promote poetry in translation, of other, nationalities. It's just a rare opportunity. Thanks for that. Απολείπει ο Θεός Αντώνιον. Σαν έξαφνα, ώρα μεσάνυχτα, ακουστεί αόρατος θίαζος να περνά, με μουσικές εξαίσιες, με φωνές, την τύχη σου που ενδίδει πια, τα έργα σου που απέτυχαν, τα σχέδια της ζωής σου, που βγήκαν όλα πλάνες, μη ανοφέλετα θρηνήσεις. Σαν έτοιμος από καιρό, σαν θαραλέος, αποχαιρέτα την Αλεξάνδρεια που φεύγει. Προπάντων, να μην γελαστείς. Μην πεις πως ήταν ένα όνειρο, πως απατήθηκε η ακοή σου. Μάταιες ελπίδες τέτοιες μην καταδεχτείς. Σαν έτοιμος από καιρό, σαν θαραλέος, σαν που ταιριάζει σε που αξιώθηκες μια τέτοια πόλη. Πλησίασε σταθερά προς το παράθυρο και άκουσε με συγκίνηση, αλλά όχι με τον δεινόν τα παρακάλια και παράπονα, ως τελευταία απόλαυση τους ήχους, τα εξαίσια όργανα του μυστικού θεία σου και αποχαιρέτα την Αλεξάνδρεια που χάνεις.
This is 1904, 8 lines long, so.
Yes.
Ideal and beloved voices of those who are dead, or of those who are lost to us, like dead. Sometimes they speak to us in our dreams. Sometimes in thoughts our mind hears them. And with their sound, for a moment return other sounds from the first puppetry of our life, like distant music that dies off in the night.
Thank you, Chris. Irma Vasiliou, Furness, the same poem in Greek.
Good afternoon, thank you for inviting me. Φωνές. Ιδανικές φωνές και αγαπημένες, εκείνων που πεθάναν ή εκείνων που είναι για μας χαμένοι σαν τους πεθαμένους. Κάποτε μες στα όνειρά μας ομιλούνε, κάποτε μες στη σκέψη δεν σ' ακούει το μυαλό. Και με τον ήχο των για μια στιγμή επιστρέφουν ήχοι από την πρώτη ποίηση της ζωής μας, σαν μουσική τη νύχτα μακρινή που σβήνει.
Chris Rose, the band's shoulder.
Okay, this is a little love poem with a characteristic mixture of the physical and the spiritual. The bandaged shoulder. He said he'd hurt himself on a wall, or that he'd fallen, but there was probably another reason for the wounded and bandaged shoulder. With a somewhat abrupt movement to bring down from a shelf some photographs that he wanted to see closely, the bandage came untied and a little blood ran out. I bandaged the shoulder again, and while bandaging it, I was somewhat slow because it didn't hurt him, and I liked to look at the blood. That blood was part of my love. When he'd left, I found in front of the chair a bloody rag from the bandages, a rag that looked as though it belonged in the garbage, which I brought to my lips, which I held there for a long time, with the blood of love on my lips.
Nikos Piperis, or the Menos Omos, the same poem in Greek.
Thank you for inviting me. Ο δεμένος όμως είπε που χτύπησε σε τείχον ή που έπεσε, μα πιθανόν η αιτία να ήταν άλλη του πληγωμένου και δεμένου ώμου. Με μια κομμάτι βίαιη κίνηση απ' ένα ράφι για να κατεβάσει κάτι φωτογραφίες που ήθελε να δει από κοντά, λύθηκε ο επίδεσμος και έτρεξε λίγο αίμα. Ξανά δέσα τον ώμο και στο δέσιμο αργούσα κάπως γιατί πονούσε και μ' άρεσε να βλέπω το αίμα. Πράγμα του ερωτός μου το αίμα εκείνο ήταν. Σαν έφυγε, ήβρα στην καρέγλα εμπρός ένα κουρέλι ματωμένο, απ' τα πανιά. Κουρέλι που έμοιαζε για τα σκουπίδια κατευθείαν και που στα χείλη μου το πήρα εγώ και που το φύλαξα ώρα πολύ. Το αίμα του έρωτος στα χείλη μου επάνω.
Trojans. Thank you. Our efforts are those of men prone to disaster. Our efforts are like those of the Trojans. We just begin to get somewhere, gain a little confidence, grow almost bold and hopeful. When something always comes to stop us, Achilles leaps out of the trench in front of us and terrifies us with violent shouting. Our efforts are like those of the Trojans. We think we'll change our luck by being resolute and daring, so we move outside ready to fight. But when the great crisis comes, our boldness and resolution vanish. Our spirit falters, paralysed, and we scurry around the walls, trying to save ourselves by running away. Yet we're sure to fail. Up there, high on the walls, the dirge has already begun. They're mourning the memory, the aura of our days. Priamos and Ikafi mourn for us bitterly.
Τρώες, είναι οι προσπάθειές μας των συμφοριασμένων. Είναι οι προσπάθειές μας σαν τον τρώο. Κομμάτι κατορθώνουμε, κομμάτι παίρνουμε πάνω μας και αρχίζουμε να έχουμε θάρρος και καλές ελπίδες. Μα πάντα κάτι βγαίνει και μας σταματά. Ο Αχιλλεύς στην Τάφρο μπροστά μας βγαίνει και με φωνές μεγάλες μας τρομάζει. Είναι οι προσπαθειές μας σαν τον τρώο. Θαρούμε πως με απόφαση και τόλμη θα αλλάξουμε τις τύχη στην καταφορά και έξω στεκόμεθα να αγωνιστούμε. Αλλά όταν η μεγάλη κρίση έρθει, η τόλμη και οι απόφασίες μας χάνονται. Ταράτεται η ψυχή μας παραλύει και ολόγερα από τα τρίχη τρέχουμε ζητώντας να γλιτώσουμε με τη φυγή. Όμως οι πτώσεις μας είναι βεβαία. Επάνω στα τείχη άρχισε ήδη ο θρήνος. Των ημερών μας αναμνήσεις κλαίνε και στήματα. Πικρά για μας ο πρίαμος και οι εκάβοι κλαίνε.
What are we waiting for, assembled in the forum?
The barbarians are due here today.
Why isn't anything happening in the Senate? Why do the senators sit there without legislating?
Because the barbarians are coming today, what laws can the senators make now, once the barbarians are here? They'll do the legislating.
Why did our emperor get up so early? And why is he sitting at the city's main gate, on his throne, in state, wearing the crown?
Because the barbarians are coming today, and the emperor is waiting to receive their leader. He has prepared a scroll to give him, replete with titles, with imposing names.
Why have our two consuls and praetors come out today, wearing their embroidered scarlet togas? Why have they put on bracelets with so many amethysts, and rings sparkling with magnificent emeralds? Why are they carrying elegant canes, beautifully worked in silver and gold?
Because the barbarians are coming today, and things like that dazzle the barbarians.
Why don't our distinguished orators come forward as usual, to make their speeches, to say what they have to say?
Because the barbarians are coming today, and they're bored by rhetoric and public speaking.
Why this sudden restlessness, this confusion? How serious people's faces have become? Why are the streets and squares emptying so rapidly? Everyone going home so lost in thought?
Because night has fallen and the barbarians have not come, and some who have just returned from the border say, there are no barbarians any longer.
And now, what is going to happen to us without the barbarians? They were, those people, a kind of solution.
Περιμένοντας τους βαρβάρους. Τι περιμένουμε στην αγορά συναθρισμένοι?
Είναι οι βάρβαροι να φτάσουν σήμερα.
Γιατί μέσα στη σύγκλιτο μία τέτοια απραξία, τι κάθονται οι συγκλητικοί και δεν νομοθετούνε?
Γιατί οι βάρβαροι θα φτάσουν σήμερα. Τι νόμος πια θα κάνουν οι συγκλητικοί? Οι βάρβαροι σαν έρθουν θα νομοθετήσουν.
Γιατί ο αυτοκράτορ μας τόσο πρωί σηκώθη και κάθεται στις πόλεως στην πιο μεγάλη πύλη, στον θρόνο επάνω, επίσημος, φορώντας την κορώνα?
Γιατί οι βάρβαροι θα φτάσουν σήμερα. Και ο αυτοκράτορ περιμένει να δεχτεί τον αρχηγό τους. Μάλιστα, ετοίμασε για να τον δώσει μια περγαμηνή. Εκεί τον έγραψε τίτλους πολλούς και ονόματα.
Γιατί οι δυο μας ύπατοι κυπρέτορες ευγήκαν σήμερα με τις κόκκινες, τις σχετισμένες τόγες, Γιατί βραχιόλια φόρεσαν με τόσους αμεθύστους και δακτυλίδια με λαμπρά για ληστερά σμαράγδια? Γιατί να πιάσουν σήμερα πολύτιμα μπαστούνια, μασίμια και μαλάματα έκτακτα σκαλιγμένα?
Γιατί οι βάρβαροι θα φτάσουν σήμερα και τέτοια πράγματα θα μπώνουν τους βαρβάρους.
Γιατί και οι άξιοι ρήτορες δεν έρχονται σαν πάντα να βγάλουν τους λόγους τους, να πούνε τα δικά τους?
Μα γιατί οι βάρβαροι θα φτάσουν σήμερα και είναι κι αυτοί βαριούνται φράδιες και δημιουργίες.
Γιατί να αρχίσει μόνο μιας αυτή η ανησυχία και η σύγχυση? Τα πρόσωπα τι σοβαρά που έγιναν? Γιατί αδειάζουν γρήγορα οι δρόμοι και οι πλατείες και όλοι γυρνούν στα σπίτια τους πολύ συλλογισμένοι?
Γιατί ενύχτωσε και οι βάρβαροι δεν ήλθαν. Και μερικοί έφτασαν από τα σύνορα και είπανε πως βάρβαροι πια δεν υπάρχουν.
Και τώρα, τι θα γίνουμε χωρίς βαρβάρους? Οι άνθρωποι αυτοί ήσαν μια κάποια λύση.
In the first section, we heard the most important poems of Cavafy read in Greek and in English. And in this section, we're going to hear Cavafy as a world poet, translated into a variety of languages. Now, I'm going to start the session off by reading English and Dutch translations of Ithaca, because, and I said I read the Keeley and Shearer translation in section 1, but now I'm going to read a different translation by Daniel Mendelssohn, which I actually prefer because I find it more poetic, but some people prefer the other one. I'll be interested to see if any of you have any comments. And I'm also going to read it in Dutch. And I chose this translation out of 5 I found on the internet by Hans Warren and Mario Mollegraaf. And I'm going to read the translation verse by verse, so you don't have to listen to too much of the foreign language all at once, and you can kind of compare, especially as you'll be able to hear some similar words in the two languages. After I've read, then I will then announce the order of the remaining readers, and so you'll know where in the program you will be. Ithaca. As you set out on the way to Ithaca, hope that the road is a long one, filled with adventures, filled with discoveries. The Laestrygonians and the Cyclops, Poseidon in his anger, do not fear them. You won't find such things on your way, so long as your thoughts remain lofty and a choice emotion touches your spirit and your body. The Laestrygonians and the Cyclops, savage Poseidon, you won't encounter them unless you stow them away inside your soul, unless your soul sets them up before you. Ithaca. Als je de tocht aanvaardt naar Ithaca, wens dat de weg dan lang mag zijn, vol avonturen, vol ervaringen. De Cyclopen en de Laestrygonen, de woedende Poseidon, behoef je niet te vrezen. Hen zul je niet ontmoeten op je weg, wanneer je denken hoog blijft en verfijnt de emotie die je hart en lijf behoort. De Cyclopen en de Laestrygonen, de woedende Poseidon, zul je niet treffen, wanneer je ze niet in eigen geest meedraagt, wanneer je geest hun niet gestalte voor je geeft. Now it's just the first verse in 2 languages. But thank you for the accolade. Hope that the road is a long one. Many may the summer mornings be when, with what pleasure, with what joy, you first put into harbours new to your eyes. May you stop at Phoenician trading post and there acquire the finest wares, mother of pearl and coral, amber and ebony, and heady perfumes of every kind. As many heady perfumes as you can. Many Egyptian cities may you visit, that you may learn and go on learning from their sages. Wens dat de weg dan lang mag zijn, dat er veel zomermorgens zullen komen,
waarop je met grote vreugde en genot zult binnenvaren in onbekende havens, pleisteren in Fonicische handelssteden om daar aantrekkelijke dingen aan te schaffen, van parelmoer, koraal, baansteen en ebbenhout. Ook opwindende geurstoffen van alle soorten, opwindende geurstoffen zoveel je krijgen kunt, dat je talrijke steden in Egypte aan zult doen om heel veel te leren van de wijzen. Always in your mind, keep Ithaca. To arrive there is your destiny, but do not hurry your trip in any way. Better that it lasts for many years, that you drop anchor at the island, an old man, rich with all you've gotten on the way, not expecting Ithaca to make you rich. Houd Ithaca wel altijd in gedachten. Daar aan te komen is je doel, maar overhaast je reis in geen geval. Het is beter dat die vele jaren duurt, zodat je als oude man pas bij het eiland het anker uitwerpt, rijk aan wat je onderweg verwierp. Ithaca gave you the beautiful journey. Without her you wouldn't have set upon the road, but now she has nothing left to give you. And if you find her poor, Ithaca didn't deceive you. As wise as you will have become, with so much experience, you will understand by then these Ithacas, what they mean. Ithaca gaf je een mooie reis. Was het er niet, dan was je nooit vertrokken. Verder heeft het je niets te bieden meer. En vind je het wat boven, Ithaca bedroog je niet. Zo wijs geworden met zoveel ervaring, zul je al begrepen hebben wat Ithaca's beduiden. What I thought I would do to get you used to that foreign sound bit by bit is to go more or less as a linguistic journey further and further away from the English, and although it's a really rough kind of notion, so Dutch I think is closest, and then I've chosen Italian because that's fairly familiar to the sound of people. Next, so Patricia will be next, and she will also be reading the same poem in Italian, so that will be interesting. So you won't have to read it.
20-something called Alessandra Salamida. She's also an actress who can speak fluently Italian and Greek. And I was present at a seminar about Cavafys in Italy. And she read it in Greek, then she read it in Italian, she recited in Italian. A lot better than I will, but I'll try and be as theatrical as I can. Ithaca. Se per Ithaca volgi il tuo viaggio, fa voti che ti sia lunga la via e colma di vicende e conoscenze. Non temere le strigoni e i ciclopi o Posidone incollerito. Mai troverai tali mostri sulla via se resta il tuo pensiero alto e squisita è l'emozione che ti tocca il cuore e il corpo. Né le strigoni o ciclopi, né Posidone a Scrigno incontrerai, se non li rechi dentro, nel tuo cuore, se non li drizza il cuore innanzi a te. Fa voti che ti sia lunga la via e siano tanti i mattini d'estate che ti vedano entrare, e con che gioia allegra, in porti sconosciuti prima. Fa scalo negli empori dei Fenici, per acquistare bella mercanzia, madrepore e coralli, ebani e ambre, voluttuosi aromi d'ogni sorta. Quanti più puoi voluttuosi aromi? Recati in molte città dell'Egitto a imparare, e imparare dai sapienti. Ithaca tieni sempre nella mente, la tua sorte ti segna quell'approdo, ma non precipitare il tuo viaggio. Meglio che duri molti anni, che vecchio tu finalmente attracchi all'isoletta, ricco di quanto guadagnasti in via, senza aspettare che ti dia ricchezze. Itaca t'ha donato il bel viaggio, senza di lei non ti mettevi in via, nulla ha da darti più. E se la trovi povera, Itaca non t'ha illuso, reduce così saggio, così esperto, avrai capito che vuol dire un'Itaca.
The bandaged shoulder. He said that he had hurt himself on a wall, or that he had fallen. But there was probably another reason for the wounded and bandaged shoulder. With a somewhat abrupt movement to bring down from a shelf some photographs that he wanted to see closely, the bandage came untied and a little blood ran. I bandaged the shoulder again, and while bandaging it I was somewhat slow because it did not hurt, and I liked to look at the blood. That blood was a part of my love. When he had left, I found in front of the chair a bloody rag from the bandages, a rag that looked as though it belonged in the garbage, which I brought up to my lips and which I held there for a long time, the blood of love on my lips.
Il a dit qu'il s'était blessé contre un mur, ou qu'il était tombé. Il y avait sans doute une autre raison pour cette épaule blessée et bandée. Quand il a fait un mouvement un peu brusque pour descendre d'une étagère quelques photos qu'il voulait voir de près, le bandage s'est dénoué et un peu de sang a coulé. J'ai rebandé l'épaule et j'ai refait ce bandage avec une certaine lenteur, car il n'avait pas mal et j'aimais regarder le sang. Ce sang faisait partie de mon amour. Après son départ, j'ai trouvé devant la chaise un chiffon sanglant, des bandages, un chiffon bon à jeter à la poubelle que j'ai porté à mes lèvres et que j'ai gardé là longtemps, le sang de l'amour sous mes lèvres.
Put your hands together for Laura, who's going to read the journal.
Thank you for having me here.
I'm going to read Hidden. It is one of Cavafy's called Unpublished Poems. And I read it first in German. Verborgenes. Aus dem, was ich tat und sagte, sollte niemand zu ergründen suchen, wer ich war. Eine Barriere war errichtet und ließ mich mein Handeln ändern und auch die Art, mein Leben zu führen. Eine Barriere war aufgebaut, ließ mich oft innehalten, wenn ich anhob zu sprechen. Meine unscheinbaren Gesten und meine Schriften, die vielschichtigsten, nur mit ihnen wird man sich ein Bild machen können. Vielleicht aber lohnt es nicht aufzuwenden, so viel Sorgfalt und Kraft um unserer Bekanntschaft wegen. Schließlich in der vollendeten Gesellschaft wird jemand aus gleichem Holz wie ich sich frei offenbaren und handeln. The German version was a translation from Helmut von Steinen from 1953. It was there are not many translations in German, and the English version I read from this book, The Poems of the Canon, translated by John Chiolis. From all it's called Hidden, of course. From all I did and all I said, let them not seek to find who I was. It stood an obstacle in my way of this altering my actions and my way of life. This stood an obstacle in my way, stopping me all the times I wanted to speak out. My most unnoticed actions, discreet writings, the ones most disguised from these alone, they'll understand me. But maybe it's not worth so much to care. All this effort just to know what and who I am. A long time from now, in a more perfect world, some other mate like me will appear, and to be sure, he will act freely.
And the city.
Thank you.
You said, I'll go to some other land. I'll go to some other sea. There's bound to be another city that's better by far. My every effort has been ill-fated from the start. My heart, like something dead, lies buried away. How long will my mind endure this slow decay? Wherever I look, wherever I cast my eyes, I see all around me the black rubble of my life, where I've spent so many ruined and wasted years. You'll find no new places. You won't find other shores. The city will follow you. The streets in which you pace will be the same. You'll haunt the same familiar places, and inside those same houses you'll grow old. You'll always end up in this city. Don't bother to hope for a ship, a route to take you somewhere else. They don't exist. Just as you've destroyed your life here in this small corner, so you've wasted it through all the world.
In fact, there are two Turkish translations of that poem by Cevat Çapan and Özdemir İnce. I read them, but that's my translation mainly. I translated it 3 days ago.
So you're reading your own translation?
Yeah, my own translation. Yeah. Because I think it's poetry translation is like wind. Like when the wind touches the curtain, you see something different. If it touches the tree, you see something different. I think that's the poetry translation.
It's very true.
Diyordun ki, bir başka yere, bir başka sahile gideceğim. Bunlardan daha güzel bir kent bulunur elbet. Bütün bu çabaların çökmeye mahkum, çökmeye yazgılı. Ve yüreğim gömülmüş bir ceset gibi. Ah aklım, bu sefaletle daha ne kadar çok gezeceksin şaşkın şaşkın. Nereye dönsem, nereye baksam, bitip giden yıllar boyunca paramparça olmuş, enkaz olmuş, harap olmuş ömrümün, görürüm kararmış yıkıntılarını. Ne başka bir yer, turn off. That's okay. Is it okay?
Still here.
I'll give you it. That's okay. It's okay.
There's another one.
There's another one. This one isn't supposed to say. Maybe the battery.
No, it's working.
No, it's not. You want to start again? Okay.
Ne başka bir yer, ne başka bir sahil bulacaksın. Bu kent senin sahibin olacak. Ve aynı sokaklarda dolaşacaksın başıboş. Yaşlanacaksın aynı mahallede. Ve aklar düşecek saçına aynı evlerde. Ve hep geri döneceksin bu kente. Ümit bile etme başka bir şeyi. Ne bir gemi, ne bir çıkış yolu yok sana. Nasıl batırdıysan ömrünü burada, bu köşe başında berbat ederdin başka her yerde de. Thank you.
Translation. So it's the city. Nopka. Okay. Vi ste rekli, otići ću u drugi grad, na drugu obalu. Naći ću neki drugi grad, bolji od ovoga. Što god sam pokušao napraviti, suđeno je ispasti krivo. I moje srce je pokopano kao da je nešto mrtvo. Koliko dugo mogu dopustiti da moj trune na ovom mjestu? Gdje god se okrenem, gdje god pogledam, vidim crne ruševine mog života. Ovdje, gdje sam proveo toliko godina, izgubio sam ih, uništio ih potpuno. Nećete naći novu zemlju, neće naći drugu obalu. Ovaj će vas grad uvijek progoniti. Vi ćete hodati istim ulicama, ostavljati u ista susjedstva. Vi ćete osjetiti u ovim istim kućama. Vi ćete uvijek završiti u ovom gradu. Nemojte se nadati nečemu negdje drugdje. Ne postoji brod za vas. Nema ni ceste. Pošto ste potrošili svoj život ovdje, u ovom malom kutu, vi ste ga uništili u svakom drugom mjestu u svijetu.
It has been translated into Polish quite a few times, but I couldn't find any of those translations, but I did find a translation by an anonymous translator.
That's on the internet.
Yeah. Miasto. Powiedziałeś, pójdę do innej ziemi, nad morze inne. Jakieś inne znajdzie się miasto, jakieś lepsze miejsce. Tu już wydany jest wyrok na wszystkie moje dążenia i pogrzebane leży jak w grobie moje serce. Niechby się umysł wreszcie podźwignął z odrętwienia. Tu cokolwiek wzrokiem ogarnę, ruiny mego życia czarne widzę, gdziem tyle lat przeżył, stracił, roztrwonił. Nowych nie znajdziesz krain ani innego morza. To miasto pójdzie za tobą. Zawsze w innych dzielnicach będziesz krążył. W tych samych domach głosy ci posiwieją. Zawsze trafisz do tego miasta. Będziesz chodził po tych samych ulicach. Nie ma dla ciebie okrętu, nie ufaj próżnym nadziejom. Nie ma drogi w inną stronę. Jakieś swoje życie roztrwonił w tym ciasnym kącie, takie w całym świecie roztrwoniłeś.
Translation of voices. Ideal and beloved voices of those who are dead, or of those who are lost to us like the dead. Sometimes they speak to us in our dreams. Sometimes in thought our mind hears them. And with their sound, for a moment return other sounds from the first poetry of our life, like distant music that dies off in the night.
So this is my French version, so it's getting further and further away from Cavafy.
Des voix, ces voix idéales et bien-aimées, de ceux qui sont morts ou de ceux qui sont perdus à nous comme les morts. Parfois, ils nous parlent dans nos rêves. Parfois, réfléchissant, notre esprit les entend. Et avec les voix résonnent pour l'instant d'autres sons de la première poésie de notre vie, comme une musique lointaine qui s'affaiblit dans la nuit.
I have no evidence that Sarton was inspired by Cavafy, but there's a real communication and correspondence between the two poems, so I like to imagine that perhaps Sarton read this poem before she went to Delphi.
Thank you, Anne. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks to Anna, I'm discovering this poem I'll be reading. It's called Ionic. That we've broken their statues, that we've driven them out of their temples, doesn't mean at all that the gods are dead. O land of Ionia, they're still in love with you. Their souls will keep you memory. When an August dawn wakes over you, your atmosphere is potent with their life. And sometimes a young ethereal figure, indistinct, in rapid flight, wings across your heads. Thank you.
So this is May Sarton, and her poem is called At Delphi. The site echoes its own huge silences. wherever one stands, whatever one sees. No terror of the past or its amazing throat, pouring an avalanche of olives into the blue bay. Crags so fierce they nearly swallow a city of broken pillars, or Athena's temple, exquisite circle gentled on all sides by silvery leaves, eagles floating on high streamers of wind, or that raw cleft deep in the rock, matrix where the oracle uttered her two-edged words. Wherever one stands, every path leads to fate itself. Speak, speak, but there is no answer. Choose the river of olives, choose the eagles, or choose to balance all these forces, the violent, the gentle, summon them like winds against a lifted finger. Choose to be human. Everyone stands here and listens. Everyone stands here alone. I tell you, the gods are still alive and they are not consoling.
Στην Παναγιά μπροστά ένα υψηλό κερί για να επιστρέψει γρήγορα και να καλή καιρή. Κι όλο προς τον άνεμο στείνεται αυτή, αλλά ενώ προσεύχεται και δέεται αυτή, η εικόνα ακούει σοβαρή και λυπημένη, ξεύροντας πως δεν θα έρθει πια ο Υιός που περιμένει. Και δεν μπορώ, θα μπω στον πειρασμό να διαβάσω και τις φωνές, παρόλο που το ακούσαμε και στα αγγλικά αρκετές φορές και στα ελληνικά. Φωνές, ιδανικές φωνές και αγαπημένες, εκείνων που πεθάναν ή εκείνων που είναι για μας χαμένοι σαν τους πεθαμένους. Κάποτε μες στα όνειρά μας ομιλούνε, κάποτε μες στις σκέψεις μας τες ακούει το μυαλό και με τον ήχο του για μια στιγμή επιστρέφουν ήχοι από την πρώτη ποίηση της ζωής μας, σαν μουσική τη νύχτα μακρινή που σβήνει. Αυτό μου το έχει ζητήσει η Παναγιώτα. Σε ευχαριστώ, Παναγιώτα.
Ευχαριστώ.
Στον Κωνσταντίνο Καβάφη, αυτό είναι από μένα φυσικά, στον ποιητή, το απλανές βλέμμα σου κοιτάζει την αιωνιότητα. Τα πεσμένα σου χείλη τραγουδούν όσα παράπονα δεν πρόφτασες να πεις για την περίπλοκη ζωή σου. Και εσύ έμεινες σκοτεινός μέσα στους ατελεύτητους αιώνες, να μην λυθούν τα μάγια και οι μύθοι που σε έπλασαν. Στέκεις σαν τη σφίγγα μέσα στους ατέλειωτους βοριάδες και τους αγέριδες του πεπρωμένου. Και στον άνθρωπο σε νιώθω σαν μια μοναχική ψυχή χαμένη μέσα στην καθημερινότητα. Τίποτα δεν σε ακουμπά, γιατί τίποτα δεν ήταν δικό σου. Μπερδεμένος μέσα στη δυτή σου ψυχοσύνθεση, όλες οι αμφιβολίες και οι πόνοι σου έλειωσαν όταν η σάρκα σου διαλύθη. Thank you very much.
In Turkish. It was translated by me and Matt Hetherington, who is in Queensland. I fell into a strange situation. Those not fallen don't know about it. I began to see all these crazy things. Those who haven't seen don't know about it. I was walking in vain in the world. No words of love within my mouth. I wrote with humanity only just now. Those who haven't written don't know about it. I tore down all the old foundations. I saw two paths about me. I began to open the door of my heart. those who haven't opened don't know about it. Hidayat started on a new path, whole new path, and saw the way to the soul. He's asked so many questions to himself. Those who haven't asked don't know about it. Bir acayip derdin içine düştüm. Düşmeyenler bilmez imiş dostum. Neler neler görür oldu gözlerim. Görmeyenler bilmez imiş dostum. Beyhude gezerdim ben bu alemde. Sevgi sözü yoktu benim dilimde. İnsanlıksa şimdi yazdı kalemde. Yazmayanlar bilmez imiş dostum. Yıktım eski temellerin hepisin. Sonunda gördüğüm yolların ikisin. Açar oldum kendi özümün kapısın. Açmayanlar bilmez imiş dostum. Hidayet yenice bir yola girdi. Özüne gidecek ışığı gördü. Kendine de nice sorular sordu. Sormayanlar bilmez imiş dostum. Thank you.
This is a short one. It doesn't have a title. And what of my dream, telling me some truth, a truth I wanted to believe. No ivory, no subtlety, telling me there you will be, my eyes watching over you, as your peaceful breaths caress the night, and momentarily you are not mine, but in a landscape outside of time.
Athana.
Athanasio. Very good, thank you.
I'll read a poem that I wrote a few years ago, and which Irma Vasiliou gave me the honor of translating into Greek, but I'll read the original English version. History as it was. Never will my brethren see my downfall. Ha! I will not give them the satisfaction. They like to see me as old and babbling, betrothed to the memories they take no interest in. They are busy with their own lives and their own version of history. What do they care for the recollections of one who has lived it? They try to tear the fabric of my life and refashion it into a patchwork quilt after their own liking. I will not let them. I will guard what is mine to the end, for they are not my friends. They are my enemies who work against me towards their own mischievous ends. They demand proof and written fact. An old man's memories are no good to them, even though those days are clear in my mind, clearer than they've ever been. They want proof, I'll find proof. I will dig it out of dusty trunks and tattered photo albums, but I will not give it to them. I will save it for someone worthy, for these are no friends of mine. They've betrayed the truth.
Finally, I just want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank the Greek community and the particular women that I mentioned before, and Dorothy, and Marietta, who's no longer here. But what a wonderful afternoon of reading we've had. What a wonderful education for me as a monolinguist in the room. And moi. But Cavafy I wasn't familiar with, and I have enjoyed it so much. Yes. Your introduction was superb, so thank you for that. And and the other thing that I found so fascinating was that Greek is such a beautiful language. I hadn't realised that. To listen to it is so beautiful, as were many of the other languages. And this multilingual, mixing of the languages, I think it worked very well. We had a wonderful afternoon of poetry. Thanks to Dorothy, thanks to Marietta.
Thanks to Wendy. Thanks to you. And thanks to all the poets and
thanks to all the poets and everyone who's come to listen. So, wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.